Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. Another way to support the channel is with a Patreon membership. I will leave a link to how you can get a Patreon subscription in the description of this video. One of the worst places to be the victim of a crime is on a cruise ship in international waters. On November 7th of 2025, 18-year-old Anna Kepner was discovered deceased and stuffed under her bed in the cabin of the cruise ship Horizon. Her new 16-year-old stepbrother, a minor, so I don't want to say his name, a housekeeper, had the misfortune of discovering the body likely while attempting to vacuum and or make up the bed. Medical examiner Anna died by somebody placing force on her neck and cutting off her airway. So as I said, her body was discovered on the morning of November 7th, and the ship did not return to Miami until the next day. Without trained detectives and crime scene investigators on board, the crime scene likely did not receive the care and the lockdown that it required to remain as untouched as possible. The authorities simply could not get to the crime scene fast enough to process it properly. We've heard that Anna's new stepbrother, 16-year-old TH, was the only person in the cabin when Anna's biological brother, 14-year-old Connor, heard screaming and what sounded like chairs being thrown around inside the cabin on the night of November 6th. By the time the cruise ship returned to Miami on November 8th, more than 24 hours had passed since Anna was last seen alive. You know what they say, the first 24 hours of a homicide investigation are critical. So you have to wonder if during those 24 hours, was vital DNA evidence lost or destroyed? Also, what happened to the clothing that the 16-year-old stepbrother was wearing that night? Were those items processed in any way? Were they placed in paper bags and stowed somewhere safe? About the blanket that Anna was said to be wrapped in, was it taken and placed in a protective paper bag? And did whoever went into the cabin, did they wear gloves? Did anyone during those 24 hours take photos of Anna's body to document any and all bruises and or scratches? Was Anna's body subjected to a RAPE kit? If not, it's too late now because she has been cremated. Another complication is that the suspect is a minor, so he couldn't be subjected to questioning without an attorney present, and I doubt that there was a detective on board to do the questioning anyway. His stepbrother's mother, Chantel Hudson, and his new stepfather, Chris Kepner, were pretty cagey after the crime, claiming they had no idea what happened to Anna. All I can say about them is they better hope that their love is strong, as the Rolling Stones say, because this messed up situation will be challenging for any couple, let alone one that's only been married for under a year. We've heard from Chantel that her son, TH, has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and that he took medication for insomnia. But he hadn't taken the meds for at least 2 days at the time of the crime. Now, it's unclear if he took medication for the ADHD. Why wouldn't he if he was diagnosed with it? If someone is on a certain ADHD medication, going cold turkey and not taking the medication for 2 days can lead to dangerous side effects, including the person being more impulsive, more restless, feeling depressed, and also suffering from irritability and anxiety. A person can also experience a worsening of the ADHD symptoms, and as I said, anxiety and also agitation. Without his sleep medication, TH may have had trouble falling asleep. He may have felt more emotional, along with feeling more irritable and more impulsive. Why the kid didn't take his medication remains a mystery. His mother, Chantel, should have been tracking that and making sure her son took his meds as prescribed. So you throw this kid who reportedly was obsessed with his new older stepsister, Anna. You put him in a shared cabin and you don't make sure he's taking his medication. You don't check in on Anna after she left dinner to return to her cabin because she didn't feel well due to pain from her braces. And you have a recipe for disaster. By the way, I read today in an article in People magazine that Anna was last seen by her grandparents at 7 p.m. on November 6th in the ship's casino. So add that 7 p.m. time to your timeline. And I'm thinking that may be the last time that anybody in the family, other than, say, the suspect, saw Anna alive. And this cute little new family was already experiencing conflict before the cruise. Anna's older new stepbrother, the 18-year-old, was apparently so desperate to avoid living with his mother's new husband, Chris Kepner, that he literally tried jumping out of Chantel's moving car. He was trying to escape. That's how badly he didn't want to live with Chris Kepner. Chantel restrained the 18-year-old so he wasn't injured, but it tells you so much about the volatile emotions involved in this newly blended family. I also read that the 18-year-old accused Chris Kepner of using a chokehold on him at one point. So yeah, that could explain why he didn't want to live with Chris Kepner. Also, the 18-year-old allegedly has a girlfriend that he didn't want to leave. We've also got Chantel involved in a custody battle with her ex-husband, Thomas Hudson. We've got Chris Kepner's second wife, Tabitha, accusing Chris of having a history of physical and mental abuse toward his own biological children. This was the toxic landscape that Anna was trying to survive in. But of course, you wouldn't know it from Anna's smiling social media posts and her TikTok videos. It looks like Anna hid her feelings pretty well. And I'm getting the impression that her father, Chris, just did what Chris wanted to do without thinking about the well-being and the opinions of his biological children. Sadly, Anna's biological mother, Heather Wright, was mostly out of the picture and living in Oklahoma. Anna lived in Titusville, Florida, and Heather divorced in 2009, and Chris had full custody of the kids. So Anna really didn't have a close relationship with Heather, the kind where she could have confided her fears maybe about the new 16-year-old stepbrother, or the kind where she could call up Heather and say, "Mom, I need to come and live with you." And I feel like her paternal grandparents are the kind who blindly support their son, Chris Kepner. So maybe Anna didn't feel safe confiding her fears to them either. You look at Anna Kepner in these videos, she looks like a happy, well-adjusted young woman with no cares in the world. But that just wasn't the case. Now we have this bright, bubbly overachiever of a young woman dead, and we're left with a 16-year-old stepbrother suspect who conveniently claims that he can't remember anything that happened inside the cabin. I personally believe that him being off the medications potentially left him with even less impulse control than he normally had. Again, I say than he normally had because Anna's ex-boyfriend said that he witnessed that 16-year-old climb on top of Anna during a late-night FaceTime call. So clearly he wasn't in control of himself back then. Imagine him without his medications. I also think that TH, if he is the guilty party, and again, he has not been charged, so he is currently presumed innocent, but he has been named a suspect. I think he may have snapped. I don't think he planned this. If he did, he's a really shitty planner. I'm thinking it was maybe a moment of rage unleashed behind closed doors without parental supervision. And I don't think this kid had any knowledge of how cruise ships track who enters and exits cabins. So he maybe thought he could just pretend that he had no idea what happened to Anna, and just like her biological brother, Connor, he had no idea that his sister was deceased under the bed a few feet away from him. In Florida, a person can be charged with what I'm going to call first-degree red rum, even if the crime was unplanned. If a person commits certain serious felonies and somebody dies during the felony or because of the felony, the offender can be charged with first-degree red rum, even if they never intended to unalive anybody. One of the felonies that allows for this is essay and battery. Another is aggravated stalking, and there are several more as well. In most of these cases, the offender is usually charged with second-degree red rum or manslaughter. And even a minor like TH can be charged with red rum if the unaliving happened during a dangerous felony. So say if TH was attempting to essay Anna and accidentally cut off her air, prevented her from breathing, and the minor can be tried as an adult if age 14 and above. Florida, if a minor is convicted of red rum, he or she cannot receive an automatic life in prison sentence without parole. But that person could receive a life in prison sentence with review, meaning that person would come up for review every so often and thus would have some hope of getting out of prison someday, maybe. So that's where we're at. Wouldn't it have been great if Chantel had made sure that TH took his medication? Even if that has nothing to do with what happened, she should have been doing that. Wouldn't it have been great if the parents were checking in on what was going on in that cabin? Wouldn't it have been greater still if they had not put Anna in with the boys? I think we may be finding out some more disturbing things about TH in the future. I don't think you pull acts like this if you're a well-adjusted 16-year-old boy who has been taught right from wrong, has impulse control, who doesn't have anger management issues, who isn't maybe antisocial. So many lives destroyed over this. You know what you think in the comments? Please hit the hype button to hype my video. I'm not somebody who comes on and begs for PayPal donations. I'd love them, but I feel uncomfortable like doing that. I don't scroll my PayPal on the screen. So in that way, I'm one of the good guys. But you know what they say, the good guys sometimes end up last. Hoo-hoo for me. Just kidding. Have a great day. Love you guys. I hope you are enjoying the spirit of the holidays that's in the air. It's caramel brulee lattes. Maybe you're baking some yummy cookies, putting up lights, drinking in the sense of like apple cider, mulled wine. And if you want a break from all this true crime and gloom, check out some of those YouTube videos where you see people strolling through the Christmas markets in Europe. Honestly, I love those. They show you all the good food, the candy, the cookies. I watched one that was in Germany somewhere, and they had all this different bread, all these amazing cookies, fudge. Can you tell I have a sweet tooth?